My name is Sunny Sharsar, and this is my point of view. India chaired the G20 presidency for 2023 and has made commendable progress in projecting itself as a rising power. Today, with a GDP of more than $3.7 trillion, it's viewed as a major geopolitical player and also a counterweight to China. While the economy of the United States is roughly around $26 trillion and that of China is around $19 trillion, India lags behind these super economies by a massive margin. The economic and the political clout of China and the United States are literally shaping the geopolitical engagements in the present world.
Beijing's dominance in this space is a big deal. The world is dependent on China for the technology.
Problem is that while America was investing sporadically, China was going all in.
And India, unfortunately, has a long way to go and to reach these levels of global stardom. But a lot of things have changed for India in the past 10 years or so, and it is increasingly being wooed by both the West and the East due to its non-aligned geopolitical posture. One fine example of this enhanced status of India was demonstrated in the G20 summit. India chaired the presidency for the G20 for the year 2023 and was able to reach a joint communique in a record time. It was a unanimous success and was adopted by a thumping majority. India was able to widen perspective, especially of the West and the United States, towards more inclusive issues than just the war in Ukraine. India was also successful to include the African Union as the newest member in the G20 group, thus paving a path to building a more equitable, balanced, and a representative world body for the future. So now, with all these events, India wants to capitalize. And what does it do? India has been projecting itself as a leader of the global south. However, this remains a narrative that is only designed by India, and that's not what the world sees India as. Well, not immediately. And the reason is clear. To become the leader of the global south, India has to outdo, out-influence, and outmaneuver the reigning champion, China. Let's look at the stats to begin with to estimate the clout both China and India can exhibit. The powerful leaders of the world list, as per Forbes, ranks Xi Jinping at number 1, while Narendra Modi is at number 9. The GDP of China is close to $19 trillion, while India is at $3.6 trillion. Defense spending of China is close to $300 billion, while India's budget pales at $80 billion. As per Brand Finance Global Soft Power list, China is at number 5, behind US, UK, Germany and Japan, while India's soft power is nowhere close. It does not even make the top 20 list. It's clear that China is eons ahead of India, and it seems that there is a lot of work to be done from India's side to be viewed in the same league as China. But there's one thing that we need to focus on a little more closely, and that is the global south. Now, what is the global south? Global south refers to countries characterized by low income, dense population, poor infrastructure, and a large-scale political and cultural marginalization. In short, Global South are developing countries that were once referred to as the Third World. Now, India and the Indian media have started this amazing coverage claiming that India is now the leader of the Global South and India is the voice of the Global South. But what is actually behind the scenes? What is the reality? Now let's look at one area that is probably the most defining, and that is lending. As far as lending to African countries is concerned, India is way behind China in this regard too. According to the Financial Times, India's cumulative development assistance since independence has been $107 billion, while the scale of China's assistance through its Belt and Road Initiative alone is a staggering $840 billion. As per reports, India has pledged around $32 billion in the last decade towards developmental projects in Africa, and China at the same time has pledged around $135 billion. So the question on my mind then is, if China is more impactful than India, how is India being viewed as a leader of the global south? Moreover, for the African nations especially, China is a stronger inspiration than India as far as economic growth and prosperity is concerned. Mind you, both India and China were on similar GDP value once upon a time, but one is now a superpower, while India is only a regional power. The trajectory of China, a country as impoverished as India was once, is rising today to global supremacy, and this story is far powerful to the African nations than the story of India's rise. China is also a country that has seen rapid progress and now is being regarded as a developed country in a lot of parameters, while India is still teetering in poverty, inequality, and a lot of internal problems. So the questions to ask are, what is the basis of this narrative of India being the leader of the global south? If the loans and assistance provided to African countries show that China is leading from the front, how is India portraying itself in the same league as China? One of the viewpoints is that India's role in Africa is altruistic and cooperative. China's role and investments has often been seen as predatory in nature, often leading to so-called debt traps, leading countries to pledge their valuable resources to China in exchange for their non-payment. When it comes to being a leader, the country with the larger pocket and the size of disbursements matter more than just simply a country that is voicing out for the global south. India just simply can't appear one fine day and take the leadership, especially when China has committed more time, energy, policy and loans to Africa.
Everybody in the equation wins. Zambia wins, China wins.
India at best is a voice of the global south, which is still a significant step for a country that has got a lot of problems internally than China. The rising dependence of the West on India to counter China has given rise to yet another phrase, counterweight to China.
But it's China that is the real target. Biden sees the Quad as vital to countering Beijing's growing might and influence on the Asia-Pacific stage.
Well, the United States is clearly interested in using or deploying India as a strategic counterweight to China.
While this suits India and allows us to bask in the limelight, it's important to understand that this phrase suits the interests of the West, who view China's policy as predatory and territorial. If India were to join hands with China, the West would have no use of India. On the contrary, this would fuel fire against this hypothetical alliance. So in short, the current leader of the global south is in some way or the other China and not India. Hence, the hype that India's steroid-induced media has created is far from reality. Perhaps this is because India is now a rising power, and that has fueled nationalistic sentiments across India, and the media ignites it even more by fueling it.